This episode is brought to you by Progressive, home of the Name Your Price tool. You say how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote. Visit Progressive.com to get started. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Hello and welcome to This Day in Esoteric Political History from Radiotopia. My name is Jody Avirgan. So this is part 2 of our survey of some of the stranger and more awkward moments from political conventions. Go listen to part 1 if you haven't yet. And a reminder that there is full video of this episode on our YouTube channel. If you want to go see our faces having this discussion, why not? Anyway, we did 4 moments last episode. There are 3 to go. Here is the rest of that conversation. Let's get into it. All right. Weird moment number 5. We were just talking about Al Gore. And
returning characters.
Yeah, Al Gore. Poor Al Gore. Like, this moment, I remember I watched this in real time and I was kind of like, wait, what? So Al Gore is at the convention. He's walking up on stage as the candidates do. And the first thing they typically do is greet their spouse and give them a big, embrace, a hug, a peck on the lips, something like that. And as he goes into embrace Tipper, he gives her a kiss, but wants to sort of linger. And it's this awkward, he gives her a 3-second kiss, which is just okay, that's enough. That's enough. The whole thing about it was no, I don't think she wants this, bro. It just felt awkward. Their embrace felt awkward. Everything about it was just too long. And we don't want to see Al Gore in that capacity. I feel like if he had just came up to his wife, given her a hug, quick little peck, made his way to the podium, okay, fine. No problem. But it was the awkward, lingering kiss that just SNL picked it up. Everyone picked it up. Commentators were like, what is happening?
Were you watching this live, Nikki?
I'm sure that I was, because we always watch the conventions at home.
Mm-hmm.
What I remember was how it played, less in the Saturday Night Live category, but more in Gore was having a challenging time beating the charges that he was really stiff, as we just talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was one of those people who didn't seem to emote a ton, who didn't necessarily always seem comfortable in his own skin. And there were 2 kind of problems with the kiss. One, it was still kind of stiff, the kiss.
Yes.
And so he's not beating the charges there. But also, it felt like it was done to beat the charges.
Oh, it was so
So it doesn't feel authentic.
No.
And that was going to be a problem for him in the campaign, right? That he just didn't read as somebody who had passions.
But I also felt coming off the heels of Clinton, I felt like he was trying to be see, I love my wife, that kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
And it just didn't read that way.
Right. There are other ways for them to show that they are normal, happy couple. And this just did not play into, it didn't feel natural. And I think it just felt like an attempt to. But, so to Zapruder this moment a little bit, when you say 3 seconds, Kelly, it's not 1, 2, 3. It's a full Mississippi. It's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. They're still kissing Mississippi. It was long. And there was a little bit of the kiss, and then a sort of forced back lean.
Yes, he dipped her.
Second dip kiss.
I feel like she doesn't want this,
and
bro.
That I think is the main thing that I think caught for me and for other people was wait a minute, did they not? I almost wanted them to be on the same page. It doesn't feel like they're on the same page. She looks a little like she's doing the little arm, what's happening to me thing. And so, yes, it just all does not work well at all. And,
cringe, ultimate cringe.
But also I think as we have seen recently as well, when you're trying to prove you're normal, that is really, really, really tough to do. And you really often end up just underscoring how not normal you are when you're hi, I'm kissing my wife.
And I mean, I think, it's the big lesson of politics is what voters want is just authenticity. And that's a very inscrutable thing. But mostly, you can be a weirdo as long as you're sort of comfortable in your own weirdness.
Right.
As long as it feels authentic. If he gave her a high five, but that was true to them, then okay. No.
So SNL does a parody of this, as you say. Gore goes on the Late Show maybe a week or so later, and they play Prince's Kiss as he's coming onto the set. That's nice. There is a sort of sad coda here that 10 years later, the Gores do separate. Tipper Gore and Al Gore do separate. I don't know what was going on there, but anyway.
I don't think it was the kiss. I think it was
the kiss might have been more of a symptom.
10 years later, all right. Let's move on to weird moment number 6.
Let's call this weird moments. And again, very much a product of the hyper regulated television campaigns of the modern era. And that is these failed balloon drops. The balloon drop with all the confetti is supposed to be like the big moment, the fireworks show at the end of the campaign, the thing that everybody is looking forward to. And it doesn't always work. One that really sticks out is in 2004 when John Kerry was finishing up his convention and they're trying to get the balloons to drop. And all you hear over CNN, if you're watching this on cable news, is the guy going, drop the balloons, drop the balloons. Hey, the balloons aren't dropping. Nope, faster, more balloons, faster, more balloons. And it's supposed to be this like big celebratory moment. And instead it just reads as both manufactured and a failure. And I think that one sticks around, as does a failed balloon drop in 1980, when Carter was running for re-election. Again, a campaign that was going to fail disastrously. And so when the balloon drop doesn't work, people look back at that and say, hey,
it was an omen. It was a bad omen. I mean, the crazy thing about this is that had not you heard the sort of broadcaster saying like, go balloons, drop the balloons.
Totally.
Like no one would have known that this was supposed to happen. And it just would have been this celebratory, like cheering and sort of like credits roll kind of moment. But I don't know, part of me is like, how hard is it to drop balloons? Like, don't you just pull a string and they fall out? Like, what is
all of the stage managers in the audience are like, look at Kelly denigrating my craft.
Just saying, it can't be rocket science. Like, just drop the balloons. There's got to be netting. You cut the netting and they go. Is that not how it works?
There's a lot of moving parts at these things. And sometimes I'm more surprised that they go off with,
as well as they do.
But again, when you're in the room, you see a lot of the seams in a way that when you're on TV, it gets covered. And so, yes, but the balloon drop is supposed to be the big reveal. It is fun when you're standing there, you're covered in balloons. And I guess we should also give a shout out to 2016 as not a failed balloon drop, but potentially a overly successful balloon drop.
Over exuberant balloon drop. I remember very well because it wasn't just like your regular sized balloons, but they had these enormous ones as well. And there's Bill Clinton standing up on stage next to Hillary Clinton and like kicking the balloons like a little kid. It was, I mean, it maybe like the Clinton campaign itself, a little over celebratory.
The whole thing about what happened to the balloons that were there the election night at the Javits Center. There's like a great story about where they ended up when they didn't get dropped when she lost. But yes, at the 2016 convention in Philadelphia, I was in the room. Just enormous number of balloons. Like they just kept falling and people were just like knee deep in balloons by the end,
kind of awesome.
And they're like, enough.
But it also led to another gif, I think, of like Clinton looking like she was like, people were like, is this the first time she's ever seen balloons? Like she's really excited right now. But yeah, so similar to the Macarena, just a little too excited.
A little too much.
Moment. But hey, it is fun. And she had just been nominated for president. So there you go. Hey there, it's Jody. I want to take a moment to tell you about a new podcast that I really think you would like. From the Scopes monkey trial to O.J. Simpson, trials have always made us reflect on the world we live in. History on Trial explores fascinating trials from American history. Join host Mira Hayward as she reveals the true story behind the headlines and discover how the legal battles of the past have shaped our present. Listen and subscribe to History on Trial wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. All right, our final weird moment weird moment number 7. And I think listeners who know their weird convention political history have been saying, are they going to get to this? Are they going to get to this? Are they going to get to this? Yes, folks, we are going to get to 2012 with Clint Eastwood addressing an empty chair that, well, let me identify part of the problem here. I don't think people really realized that he was, in theory, talking to a empty chair that was supposed to have Barack Obama sitting on it, and he was supposed to be critiquing. But he just kind of got out there and started talking to an empty chair, and all context was lost. The context clues were not being offered, really, and it was one of the most bizarre, surreal convention moments ever. And so for 12 minutes, he has this conversation.
Worse than the 3-second kiss.
Oh, yeah.
It just went on and on and on.
Yep. And, he pretends that it's talking back to him, and he gets insulted, and he pretends that it's swearing at him. It is, supposed to be Barack Obama sitting in that chair, and he's offering a critique of the guy and having a conversation with an imaginary Barack Obama sitting in the chair.
Whose idea was this?
It was his idea.
Yes.
He was supposed to come on. So this happened on the closing night of the convention, and Romney is coming on after him.
Real primetime stuff.
And so he is supposed to be like the big Hollywood star who introduces Romney, maybe says a few words about guns because of his connection to the NRA. And he comes out and he brings out this chair and he starts to just go unscripted. So the campaign did not know what he was going to say. They did not vet his speech, which is wild when you think about how second by second of those primetime parts of the convention are planned.
Yes.
And once it starts, there's nothing they can do. They don't have a shepherd's hook back there to sort of like drag him off the stage. Right. They just have to wait until it ends. And the vibe is so bad.
Yep.
When he leaves the stage. Like, that's your opener, Mitt Romney.
I mean, 12 minutes is so
long.
This is the ultimate cringe. I have to say the ultimate because I do remember listening to him speak and he he tells the chair to shut up. Like, it's like, what? Like, it was just so... There was no way to get around how awkward and how bad that was. And then people were like, is there something wrong with him? Does he have is this dementia? Is this he's having a mental breakdown? Like, it's bad.
Well, even I mean, there's a version of it where it could be sort of strange but effective if he just comes out and he's like, here's Barack Obama. And here, I don't know, Barack Obama won't take a meeting with me, but here are all the things I want to say to Barack Obama. And it's a nice, tight, punchy, whatever. But instead, it's this awkward, imagined conversation where he's not really saying what Obama says back to him. So we have to kind of pick up on it. And it's like it's very stilted and weird. And again, 12 minutes in prime time. I mean, that is valuable real estate. And it was very, very, very.
Yeah, that could have been
strange.
30 seconds.
Yeah. A nice little moment from this year was, and this kind of went around, and again, it was not during prime time. I think it was emblematic of like people don't realize how weird conventions actually are. But Jim Justice at the Republican convention this year had his dog sitting on a chair next to him during the speech, and like people were, there was this meme going around where it's like this close-up shot of Jim Justice, and he's saying the most like apocalyptic things about the state of America and what Joe Biden, I guess at that point, is going to do to this country, and like we're on the brink of collapse, we're about to become a Soviet, failed state, and then it cuts this wide shot, and there's just this bulldog sitting on a chair next to him. It's like, what is going on here? But again, to me, that kind of weird stuff happens a lot during the day.
Yeah.
Again, the Eastwood thing happening in primetime was very strange.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of vetting, Nikki, made me realize that we missed a big one, and we should do a proper full episode on this. Gosh, I don't know when we could sneak it in, but we did miss the Melania plagiarism.
Oh, yes.
Which is
all right.
Kind of stunning. And, just
classic
in the craziness of 2016. Look,
the moment she said, your word is your bond, I was like,
God.
what?
Where have I heard that before?
So I guess that's a good way to end it, is by saying to listeners, I'm sure we missed many other weird convention moments. So go ahead and let us know what we missed, and maybe we'll do proper full episodes on it in the future. And if anything, we've hopefully left you with the notion that yes, as grave as this political moment is, these are truly strange events. And so I think, we're recording this ahead of the DNC this year, but we'll see how it plays out. But I think there's going to be a lot of weird stuff going on inside and outside of the arena.
Is it me? But does it make the conventions a little bit more exciting now because we do have social media and we do have like GIFs and memes and these things that like keep the joke going, so to speak. Yeah. And so it just, I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm checking social media just to see like what GIFs and memes are going to pop up.
It goes back to the one you talked about in 1948, the first televised one. That was where it started to bridge that divide between what's happening in the arena and the rest of the world. And now we just have even more and more access to it. And you get a sort of sense of the weirdness. And I'm sure that, and there's also a feedback loop too, right? Between now the people watching at home, they're reacting, and then people in the arena are seeing that reaction and are adjusting. So yes, it's a very interesting little ecosystem. I'm glad we were able to kick off Conventions Week with this tour through the weird moments, and then we will run some other episodes about conventions this week as the DNC plays out. But that brings us to the end of the episode. This was really fun. Thanks to everyone who was watching on YouTube. If you weren't watching this and you were just listening, you want to watch it again, go back and watch it. Why not? Here we are. Nicole Hammer, thanks to you as always.
Thank you, Jody.
And Kelly Carter-Jackson, thanks to you.
My pleasure.
Radiotopia.